I've got some good news and I got some bad news. But to be fair, the bad news probably won't affect you unless you're living in the UK, because over here, the summer weather has decided just not to show up. It's been grey and rainy every single day, and it's been fantastic. The good news with that is that I've been stuck inside way more than I'd have liked, and I've researched a bunch of good news stories for you. And we actually have 20 good news stories this month, which is like a little monthly record. I'll put a little counter up here so we can keep a track of them all. Before we start, as the sun clearly isn't going to brighten up my day anytime soon, if you can like and subscribe to this channel if you've been enjoying the good news roundups, that would help brighten my day just a little bit instead. Anyway, here's some good news in June that you might have missed. Two teenagers won $50,000 for inventing a device that can filter microplastics from water. 17-year-olds Victoria O and Justin Huang from Texas have developed a device that uses ultrasonic sound waves to filter microplastics from water, winning them $50,000 at the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair. Their invention, which can remove up to 94% of microplastics in a single pass, aims to be scaled for use in water treatment plants, potentially addressing a significant environmental issue. Many existing filtration methods are inefficient or environmentally harmful, but O and Huang's device offers a promising and eco-friendly solution. The EU has passed the landmark Nature Restoration Law, committing to restore 20% of its degraded ecosystems by 2030 and all by 2050. This law includes specific targets like restoring forests, wetlands, grasslands and marine areas, revitalising 25,000 kilometres of rivers, increasing urban green spaces and reversing the decline of pollinators. It also aims to restore drained peatlands with a target to re-wet at least 30% by 2030. Next, member states will develop natural restoration plans to meet these ambitious targets. One of the biggest material breakthroughs has happened at the University of Cambridge, where researchers have found a path to make cement using no emissions. Why is this important? Well, if cement was a country, it would be the third biggest source of emissions after China and the US, so this could help solve one of the world's biggest climate challenges. This new method recycles old concrete by using an electrochemical process to extract calcium, which can then be used to make new concrete. When combined with renewable energy, this process can produce cement with no emissions and does not add any significant cost to concrete production, making it both clean and affordable. In this next story, I'm going to pass the mic to Andrea, who recently won a Goldman Prize for helping to persuade regulators to adopt rules that improve the air quality for millions in one of the US's smoggiest areas.
Hi, my name is Andrea Vidaurre. I am with the People's Collective for Environmental Justice. We are from the Inland Empire in Southern California. We were just awarded the Goldman Environmental Prize, one of the largest grassroots prizes for environmental work. And we won it because we were able to pass a policy in California that's going to transition trucks and trains to zero emissions. It is the largest emissions reductions that we've been able to get in California from a policy.
Seabird populations on a remote island near Madagascar have made an epic comeback. In just 2 decades, the number of seabird species on Tromlin Island have grown from just 2 species to 7, with thousands of breeding pairs now calling the 1-kilometre scrubland their home. It's all thanks to dedicated conservation work to eradicate invasive rodents back in 2005, helping the returning seabirds thrive. Today, the project is a prime example of how resilient nature can be and how island restoration work can make a huge difference. This eco-friendly laundry innovation is transforming lives all around the world, and it doesn't even use electricity. Right now, an estimated 60% of the global population still hand wash, and most of the burden falls on women and girls. But thanks to the Divya, a new hand-crankable washing machine, time usually spent hand washing, which is around 20 hours a week, can be cut by 76%. Led by the Washing Machine Project, the Divya not only allows these communities to spend more time on things like learning and work, it also saves precious water supplies too. A high schooler from Hawaii has won a $10,000 prize for research on why green sea turtles in Kaneohe Bay are getting tumours. Maddox Springer, now 18, spent 2.5 years and 400 hours underwater researching how fibropapillomatosis, or FP for short, which I prefer, affects turtles. He found the disease could be linked to them eating invasive algae that absorb sewage from local cesspools, landing him the top award at the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair. Now he's planning to use his prize money for college so he can do more research and raise awareness for change. Grab your warmest coat because for the next story, we're heading to Norway and hearing from Carolina, the CEO of WWF Norway, about some positive news coming out of there. Oh, and if you're enjoying the video so far, drop a comment below to help boost the good news in the algorithm. The comment can be completely random or relevant to the video, whatever you fancy.
Hi Sam, Carolina from WWF Norway here. This month we announced that we are taking the Norwegian government to court over the decision to open up for deep sea bed mining. The deep sea is one of the most unique and fascinating places on our planet, and it's still unexplored by humans. So we know very little about the life in the deep sea. Yet the Norwegian government has decided to open up these areas for mining without knowing the consequences for our wildlife and ecosystems. And since we in Norway have laws that state that we must know the consequences of an activity before we open up for new industry, we have decided to take the Norwegian government to court. So the process in the court might take years. But we are here to keep up the fight for a healthy ocean. So thanks to everybody who supports us.
Farmfluencers in Vietnam are revolutionising rice farming for the future. If you've not heard the term before, these farmers are helping fellow smallholders learn all about sustainable rice cultivation, from smart water management to reduced pesticide use, all without the added cost. Thousands are now learning these methods thanks to initiatives like the Vietnam Farmers Union's Train the Trainer program. As the world's third largest rice exporter, Vietnam's rice production makes up 15% of its greenhouse gas emissions, so programs like this are key in the race to hit the country's 2050 zero emission targets. A new US farm bill could bail out farmers who've had their livelihoods ruined by forever chemicals. These harmful substances, known as PFAs, have polluted farmland through certain fertilisers and water, leading to significant economic and health problems for farmers. The legislation proposes a $500 million fund to help affected farmers and encourage safer farming methods, putting in place long-term solutions to prevent further contamination and protect public health. I mentioned it once before in a past video, but if you haven't watched Dark Waters on Netflix, I highly recommend it if you want to learn more about forever chemicals and the impact they've had. And I'm also currently reading Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, which is another great resource on the topic too. I'll put links to all these stories and recommendations down in the description below. Anyway, here's the next story. Over 80 nature conservation groups in the UK have come together to launch a legal bid to force the next UK government to improve targets for tackling wildlife decline. With 1 in 6 UK species at risk of extinction, groups like the National Trust, RSPB and wildlife trusts are urging all political parties to boost biodiversity efforts. The coalition claims the government has failed to meet environmental targets and calls for urgent action, investment and legal changes to reverse wildlife decline, stressing the need for stronger policies and funding commitments to protect nature. And just a reminder, using your voice to vote for nature-friendly policies is one of the best ways to make positive change. And on the subject of campaigning for nature, that brings us nicely on to our next story. A new campaign to help people reconnect with nature is here, and it's all about how we define it. The We Are Nature campaign wants UK dictionaries to redefine nature to include humans, so people are more likely to see themselves as part of the natural world. Backed by Lawyers for Nature and House of Hackney, it's hoped a wider meaning will help foster more eco-friendly decisions to help build a sustainable future. The head of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has stated that the world's fossil fuel industries should be banned from advertising to help combat climate change. He labelled coal, oil and gas corporations as the godfathers of climate chaos, accusing them of distorting the truth and deceiving the public for decades. Guterres compared the situation to the ban on tobacco advertising due to health risks and argued that a similar approach should be applied to fossil fuels to prevent them from doing more damage to our planet. On that note, if you're interested in learning how big oil are using the same tactics to deceive us as big tobacco, I highly recommend this book, Merchants of Doubt: How a Handful of Scientists Obscured the Truth on Issues from Tobacco Smoke to Global Warming. Or if you're not a big reader, you can watch a documentary instead. There's also a great 3-part documentary on BBC if you can get access to that, called Big Oil versus the World. But say we do take down big oil, what's going to happen to all those old coal power plants? Michigan has an answer. In Michigan, retired coal plants are being transformed into community green spaces, wildlife habitats and clean energy hubs. The Power Plants to Parklands initiative by Michigan's Environmental Law and Policy Centre is redeveloping old coal plant sites along valuable waterfronts into solar energy sites and public parks. This initiative not only addresses environmental contamination, but also repurposes industrial sites to help give communities better access to nature and clean energy, with projects like the Daniel E. Kahn power plant being converted into a solar facility. To end the video, we have 5 quickfire good news stories and one final one to end on. Rotherham, a town in the UK, has introduced 8 miles of wildflower verges, which has saved the council £80,000 a year in mowing costs in previous years, and it's helped create habitats for local pollinators too. Portugal welcomed its first wild bison in 10,000 years as part of a rewilding project by Rewilding Portugal, aiming to restore 250,000 acres of land. Giant anteaters are making an incredible comeback in southern Brazil thanks to amazing conservation efforts in Argentina. The vulnerable species is doing so well at Argentina's Iberá National Park, it's been spotted venturing across international borders. A new study by researchers at University College London and the International Institute for Sustainable Development has found that existing fossil fuel projects can meet our global energy demands until 2050, meaning we don't actually need new oil and gas permits while the planet transitions to renewable energy. And Australian scientists have developed an AI system on Cube satellites that detects bushfires 500 times faster than traditional methods, enabling rapid response to prevent extensive damage. 19 stories down and 1 to go, and it's thanks to people like you that make these good news videos possible, through liking, commenting and subscribing to my channel, and to all the wonderful people over on my Patreon as well. If you want to join the Patreon and support me, just hit this link here and your beautiful name will appear next to me on the next month's roundup. Now the final story, and we're heading back down under. A massive wildlife corridor is being created between Australia's Daintree rainforest and the Great Barrier Reef, in a collaborative effort by the indigenous Eastern Gugu-Yalanji people and the NGO Climate Force. The project involves planting 360,000 trees over 213 hectares to restore habitats fragmented by industrial agriculture. So far, 25,000 trees and 180 species have been planted, aiming to boost biodiversity and reconnect animal populations. See you on the next video, my friend.